Good afternoon and welcome to NASA's Johnson Space Center here in Houston, Texas. I'm Joseph Zakshesky with NASA Communications, and we look forward to discussing 3 upcoming spacewalks that will occur in the month of August outside of the International Space Station, and all 3 will be seen on NASA Plus. And for more on that coverage, you can visit nasa.gov. For media members that are joining us today for our conversations, you can join the queue by joining and hitting *1, and then to retract your question, you can use *2. Now, as we discuss these programmatic and operations significance of these spacewalks that will be coming up again in the month of August, joining us to discuss these on our panel are Bill Spetch, Deputy Manager of Commercial Low Earth Orbit Program, Chris Dobbins, Spaceflight Flight Director, and Chloe Mehring, a Spacewalk Flight Director. Now again, if you wish to join the queue at any point during today's conversation, you can use *1 for our media members on the phone lines and *2 to retract your question. With that, we'll begin with some opening remarks from Bill Spetch.
All right. Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We really appreciate your interest in our efforts in low Earth orbit and the International Space Station. And we look forward to discussing this upcoming series of spacewalks. It's been an exciting couple of weeks in the space station operations. Of course, Anil Menon launched just a couple weeks ago, and he's getting settled into space station life and has begun contributing to science and research investigations on board. Just last weekend, Chris Williams returned on the Soyuz after spending 241 days in space as part of his first spaceflight. He's doing well and has returned to Houston to begin his post-flight recovery period. Thanks to all the teams who supported both the launch and the landings and all aspects of these missions. Looking ahead, throughout the month of August, the team will remain busy as they conduct and support these spacewalks that we have coming up. U.S. Spacewalks 96, 97, and 98 will be the 281st, 282nd, and 283rd conducted in support of space station assembly, operations, and maintenance. So on Thursday, August 6th, we'll conduct our first spacewalk, Spacewalks 96. The first spacewalk is scheduled for Jessica Meir and Anil Menon to exit the Quest airlock and install hardware that will modify the station's 3B power channel and prepare it for the future installation of a rollout solar array, or IROSA. The solar array, scheduled for delivery later this year, will provide additional power to support critical station operations, including its safe and controlled deorbit. Spacewalks will be the 6th for Jessica and the 1st for Anil. Then, a week later, Thursday, August 13th, we'll do U.S. Spacewalk 97. We'll have 2 astronauts go outside and replace a space-to-ground antenna for the orbital complex. The antenna that we will be replacing is a critical communication system that we use to transmit data and high-speed communication between mission control in Houston and the space station. Then we'll follow that up on Thursday, August 25th, with the 3rd and final spacewalk for this series. We'll have 2 crew members connect power channel cables, data relay systems as part of ongoing maintenance, including preparations for the space station's future deorbit. The astronauts will also replace a navigational aid that is used for spacecraft docking on the Harmony module's forward port. We will share additional details about Spacewalks 97 and 98, including timing, assigned crews, and coverage information as we get closer to each of those. Beyond these spacewalks, we have a busy fall and winter ahead. Early in September, we'll have our next Progress Exchange, where we will launch and dock 96 Progress to the Russian segment of the International Space Station. Then in mid-September, we'll begin our crew exchange for the next Crew 13 mission. That mission will carry NASA astronauts Jessica Watkins and Luke Delaney, CSA astronaut Josh Kutrick, and Roscosmos cosmonaut Sergei Tetryatkov aboard the SpaceX Dragon spacecraft launched on a Falcon 9 rocket. Their work in orbit will advance critical science and technology that supports exploration of the Moon, Mars, and benefits life here on Earth. Then in the fall, we'll get into our next commercial resupply mission from SpaceX, CRS-35. That mission is targeted to launch more than 7,200 pounds of cargo and payloads, including the International Space Station rollout solar arrays that we just talked about. That launch will occur from Space Launch Complex 40. And then looking farther ahead, as we get into the winter, NASA's Northrop Grumman Commercial Resupply Services 25 mission is targeted to launch towards the end of this year. To give us a little bit more about each of these spacewalks, I'll turn it over to our flight directors here, starting with Chris Dobbins.
Thank you, Bill, and thank you all for your interest in our EVAs and the space station operations later this summer and this fall. Earlier this year in March, our Spacewalk flight director, Ronak Dave, for the EVA96, the solar array mod kit upgrade EVA for Channel 3 Bravo, was already briefed in great detail, so I'll just give a few words to remind everyone of that EVA. If we go to the slide with the solar arrays on it, that would be great. We'll be installing the final mod kit for the rollout solar arrays, setting up for the EVAs once commercial resupply mission 35, SpaceX 35, arrives later this year, so that we can install our final 2 solar arrays. Also on this EVA, the crew will be relocating some equipment to help optimize those solar array EVAs, as well as the ones later in August to repair the antenna and to perform the upgrades and modifications on the triple jump EVA. As Bill mentioned, the crew for EVA 96 will be Jessica Meir as EV1. She'll be wearing the red stripe on her suit to identify her, and EV2 will be Anil Menon wearing an unmarked suit. On board the space station, ESA astronaut Sophie Adno and NASA astronaut Jack Hathaway will be assisting Jessica and Anil as they conduct the spacewalk and get ready for it. As I mentioned, Ronak Dave is the flight director for this operation, and the person responsible on the ground for communicating with the crew outside of the space station during the EVA will be NASA astronaut Stephanie Wilson. The other person communicating with the crew, specifically the onboard crew, will be JAXA astronaut Aki Hoshide, and the EVA team will be led by Stephen Villano. They're all very excited to go conduct this spacewalk next week and are ready to go execute a safe operation. I'll talk a little bit more about the space-to-ground antenna EVA, which will be a week after that on August 13th. So late last year, we could show the slide of the antenna itself. Late last year, one of our 2 KU band antennas began experiencing issues that prevented it from gimbaling to track the tracking data relay satellites. Those are the satellites in geosynchronous orbit that enable communication with ISS and the ground. Those KU band antennas, we have 2 of them on space station, are what we use for high-rate data communications, which include high-def video, extra audio channels with the ground, and all of our extended science data for our payload specialists. Fortunately, even though one of those antennas is currently degraded and we're not able to use it, we do have 2 on board, so we haven't lost any capability while we've waited to conduct the repairs on this EVA. That antenna you see on the screen now weighs approximately 200 pounds. It's a 6-foot diameter dish, and it's about 6 feet long, so we'll get some pretty spectacular views of crew members holding that antenna as we conduct the spacewalk. The spare we're replacing it with arrived on a space shuttle mission back in 2009, STS-127, and the current active antenna that is degraded we're replacing arrived in 2010, and it's lived a long and healthy life. With that, we've got an animation that describes in more detail how the antenna will be replaced, and I'll hand it over to the production team to show that animation.
Our day will start with EV1 in red stripes and EV2 in white. Crew will egress the International Space Station from the airlock and will both be carrying a tool bag. EV1 will translate to an external pallet forward of the airlock to retrieve a foot restraint that they will take as they translate starboard to set up and ingress the space station robotic manipulator system, or robotic arm, from the S1 truss. Once EV1 is ingressed, the robotic arm will back off from structure and then maneuver the crew up and over the main truss to the space-to-ground antenna, or SGAN, worksite. Meanwhile, EV2 will translate aft and zenith around the airlock to the Z1 truss. Here, EV2 will set up the worksite to remove and temporarily stow the failed SGAN antenna. Next, they will translate up the antenna boom to prepare the escant for removal. Shortly after, EV1 will be arriving on the robotic arm. The two crew will work together to install locks over the antenna's gimbals to restrain it from motion during handling. Next, EV1 will demate two electrical connectors. The crew will then work together to release 4 bolts holding the antenna to the boom. EV1 will remove the escant from the boom back away from the worksite. EV2 will translate down the boom to the temp stow location. EV1 will hand the antenna to EV2, who will install it in a temporary stowage location. From here, the crew will maneuver starboard for the retrieval of the spare antenna. EV1 will fly to the worksite on the robotic arm and begin the release of 2 bolts. EV2 will translate along the truss to this worksite and assist EV1 with release. EV1 will retrieve the spare antenna from its housing, and the robotic arm will fly back to the install location on the Z1 truss. EV2 will translate back along the truss the same way they came, passing by the airlock on the way. Both at the worksite, the crew will work together to get the antenna seated and installed on the boom. Next, the two crew will release and remove the 2 locks from the spare antenna's gimbals and install a thermal cover. EV2 will retrieve the failed antenna from its temporary stowage location and pass it off to EV1. EV1 will carry the failed antenna outboard to its long-term stowage location. EV2 will work to clean up the Z1 worksite before heading back outboard. EV2 will drop off the tool bag at the airlock before continuing translation to the failed antenna install. Crew will work together to get the failed antenna stowed and 2 bolts installed. Once the failed antenna is stowed, EV1 will maneuver to the same location they ingress the robotic arm from. EV2 will begin translation back to the airlock and prepare for crew ingress. EV1 will egress the robotic arm and remove the foot restraint, which they will be stowing on an equipment platform nearby. EV1 will then translate back to the airlock, where crew will ingress the International Space Station with their tool bags to finish out their planned 6-hour and 30-minute EVA.
All right, thank you. Just to close out, I'll add that for this EVA, we've got a fantastic team of folks on the ground supporting it who did all the development to figure out how to do an antenna removal and replacement. That team is composed of Ann McLean, our spacewalk communicator, who will be talking to our astronauts outside. She's a NASA astronaut. Our Capcom will be Stephen Zenter, and if you could show the graphic for this, that would be great. Our Capcom will be Steven Zenter. He'll be talking with the astronauts inside the space station as they control the robotic arm and support the crew outside. And our EVA team is led by Sandy Fletcher, and we're all looking forward to the successful EVA. So with that, I'll hand over to Chloe, who will talk the last EVA in August, triple jump.
Yep, thank you very much, Chris. And thank you all for your attendance and interest today. I'm going to start off talking about the team for this EVA, which we've titled the Triple Jump EVA. It is an upgrades EVA, so these are items that are things we will want to get done. It doesn't necessarily have a high priority to get done today, but we've got a great opportunity to get it done. So with that, this EVA has moved around quite a bit. So I'd really like to thank the entire Triple Jump team for handing over a really great EVA timeline to me, and to the former lead flight director, Heidi Brewer, who is now our increment lead flight director. So I will be taking over the task from her. So we can go to the team slide for EVA 98. The team includes our ground IV, who will be the main voice of the crew during the EVA, is astronaut Mark Vandehei. He's been in training the entire time and working with the team as it's progressed through the timeline. Our Capcom, who will be talking to the crew inside, is Tess Caswell. And our lead EVA flight controller is Sandy Moore. And our main task is Tanner Burns. So I'd really like to thank them for all the work on the timeline. So this really is almost two independent timelines between our EV1 and EV2. As you saw for Chris's EVA, the team is working together really closely on one main task. This one, we have a lot of things that we'd like to accomplish, but we do have a couple priority items. The first one being the No2 forward retro reflector. This is going to be performed by EV1. There are reflectors around station which are used by visiting vehicles to help with the relative navigation as they're approaching its targeted docking port. So we have noticed some residue buildup on these retro reflectors over time from thruster combustion products from our visiting vehicles. So they do need to be replaced because sometimes the vehicles cannot lock onto them. The Node 2 Zenith was replaced by Sunny Williams during increment 72. That was done at the, like I mentioned, the Zenith port. For us, there is no visiting vehicle on this port. When she did hers, there was a visiting vehicle there. So I'd say it's going to be a little bit different for us, but hopefully a bit easier. Our next priority is related to the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer Payload, or AMS. This was launched in 2011 on STS-134. Over time, with the thermal environment changes that occur in space, this has caused materials to relax over time so that the radiator is no longer firmly up against the power units inside of AMS. So we are seeing a decrease in our heat rejection capability on AMS. There is 46 bolts that EV2 will be going ahead and torquing down to try to bring those two pieces of material closer together to help the heat rejection and to help continue the lifespan of AMS. This one, the crew member will be on the robotic arm, which means the two crew members who are not on the spacewalk will be inside manipulating the arm for that crew member. There are also what we call AMS guide studs that we are going to be adding to the corners of where those 46 bolts are. This is going to allow us to install a new radiator as we do some AMS upgrades, which will occur in the not too distant future. And then finally, why the EVA is called Triple Jump. We are going to be connecting jumpers. We have electrical as well as some fluid connectors that are going to help station. So the electrical jumpers, we're going to install one at S4 and one at S6. This is going to help us just improve our redundancy in the event there's any type of failure within our power systems on station. The other line that we'll be installing is for the photovoltaic thermal control system, or PVTCS. This is what we use to cool electrical components out at our power channels outside of station. So we'll be installing two jumpers. They're going to have nitrogen in the lines, and they'll be set up for a future EVA where we're going to go ahead and push ammonia through these lines to give another radiator path for cooling for station. So with that, there are a couple other tasks that you're going to hear about in the animation. I won't get into those details. Instead, I'll cut it right over to the production team to go into the animation.
US EVA 98 will begin at the Quest airlock. European astronaut Sophia Adnote, EV1, noted by the red stripes, will egress first and perform some bag swaps, temporarily stowing them on the outside of station. She will then receive her bag for her first task to on her BRT.
temporarily hold Jessica, NASA astronaut Jessica Meir, as she egresses, help her install on our BRT, and close up the airlock. EV1 Sophie will then head on out to the Node 2 forward reflector worksite, pausing temporarily to drop her fair lead hook, and then heading out to the international docking adapter. She'll pause momentarily to pull a lever aft and take some photos, stow her bag, and prep for reflector release. There are 3 Fairchild fasteners released by hand, carefully to not strip them. She'll stow that reflector in a wipe to protect the reflector back inside, and then install the new reflector. Again, 3 Fairchild fasteners. And then remove a tape cover, stow that all back in the bag, and then she'll head back inboard, pausing momentarily to re-engage the safing, apply power to the international docking adapter, and back to the airlock. She'll stow a tool needed in a different task in a different bag. Meanwhile, Jessica's going to head outboard to S1, stow her large ORU bag with the high-def camera, and prep for arm setup. The Lee will meet her at S1. She'll install the foot restraint, retrieve her large ORU bag, and ingress the SSRMS for maneuver over to the S1 lower outboard external high-def camera. We'll temporarily install a round scoop and a lens cover to protect our camera during the remove. Jessica will then release 3 cables, a WAP cable, and then a power and data cables. She'll temp those to the side, and then she will release the camera up the ratcheting bracket by flipping a cam lever, a temp stow on the outside of her bag while she retrieves the spare and installs the spare. And then power and data are applied, followed by the WAP cable. Retrieving the hardware from the new, looking at the cable routing, and then back to S1, where she'll egress and head back to the airlock to stow the large ORU bag, protecting the thermocock of the camera. She'll retrieve a crew lock bag needed for her AMS activities, head back to her location at S1, and re-ingress the SSRMS. From there, Sophie's gonna stop at the airlock, drop off her bag and her PGT while retrieving a microorganisms caddy. She's gonna do a couple of different experiments looking for extremophiles on the outside of station, including handrails, her gloved hand, the thermal cover, out for here on the lab at a CO2 vent. In the final swab back in the airlock, she'll test the service and cooling umbilical, and then drop off everything, retrieve her pistol grip tool and her new crew lock bag. From there, Sophie's going to head all the way outboard past the Sarge, momentarily dropping her green fair lead hook, and then out to S4, where she's going to work on the integrated equipment assembly, releasing and reapplying a lower torque. This will allow for robotics, remove and replace later if ever needed. Then she'll stow her tools, retrieve her bag, and continue outboard. Meanwhile, Jessica's going to take an amazing flyover the S1 truss over to the AMS worksite, where she's going to drive 46 bolts to pull the wake radiator in tight to AMS, while Sophie works on her DDCU jumper out at S4. To do this, she's going to remove a couple of caps from a dummy panel, reposition connectors, and apply a very large jumper. This will give us some redundancy in the impact of an electrical issue on orbit. She'll then reposition to the lower side, because it is a long jumper, move the cable to the dummy panel, and do the other side of the jumper. From there, she'll clean up her work site and reposition for her next activity. Meanwhile, Jessica's at AMS, and she's going to break and remove 4 corner bolts. This allows for up to 4 AGS or AMS guide studs to be installed temporarily by hand, and then followed with a torquing with the pistol grip tool. If needed, she'll reposition and do the next 2, again breaking torque and releasing them fully, and then fully installing 2 additional AGS, at first by hand and then by pistol grip tool. She'll then take another amazing ride back and around over the truss, meet her egress position at S1. She will egress, temp stow her large ORU bag to allow her to clean up the foot restraint from the SSRMS, stow it on the port CETA cart, and then she'll retrieve her crew log bag and head outboard to join Sophie. Meanwhile, Sophie has finished her electrical jumper task, and she's headed to her second electrical task. This is a simpler DDCU activity where she'll install a short jumper. Meanwhile, Jessica will head outboard for a fluid jumper. She's going to pause at S5, S6, pull back a jumper which is filled with nitrogen, and install for a future radiator fill of ammonia. After completing her electrical task, Sophie will pause one more time to do one more jumper. Again, this is a fluid jumper filled with nitrogen. She's going to cross it over S6 to S5 and allow for the future radiator fill. Both crew will meet back at the airlock for a successful conclusion of EVA 98.
And again, with these EVAs, more information, including its participants, will be shared as we get closer to the events themselves. So be sure to tune in to nasa.gov for more information on these upcoming EVAs that are coming up here in the month of August. But again, talking right now about U.S. Spacewalk 98, and I want to give it back to Flight Director Corley Mehring for any additional thoughts.
Yep, just to follow up on the couple tasks that I did not mention prior to the video. One of them is the EHDC. That is one of our high-def cameras. We're replacing it because right now it can only take still videos or still images, and it cannot stream video. So by doing this, we'll be able to get that video streaming capability back, which does help for some of the robotics operations. Not required, but it's a little extra view. And the microorganisms, this is the second time we were performing this payload. There were some interesting results I know from the first one, so we wanted to go ahead and do it again to see if we got similar results or something different. So that's why we'll be doing MicroOrg 2. And Joseph, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you very much. And thank you to Bill, Chris, Chloe for providing additional details on these upcoming spacewalks that, again, will be happening outside of the International Space Station throughout the month of August. And for more information on those, again, be sure to visit at nasa.gov, and we'll have the broadcast live on NASA Plus. We're now going to transition to our question and answer session. For the media that are participating on our phone bridge, if you wish to submit a question, you can do so by hitting *1. If your question has been answered, you can redact it by using *2. We have media here in the room here at Johnson Space Center, and we'll start in the room.
Thank you. I'm Mark Carreau with Aviation Week and Space Technology. I have some IROSA questions. I think you said for the 3B power channel, the 7th will be launching on SpaceX cargo this fall. You didn't say any clearer that, I don't think. So what I'm asking is, will the other last IROSA go with it, or will that launch later? And what power channel will the 8th one go to? And when do you think you'll complete all of the IROSA work?
Sure. They fly in pairs. So we'll get 2 solar arrays flying together on one pallet in the Dragon trunk. And then we'll replace the 2A. The 2A array was the other one that we have to go put this in, and then the 3 Bravo. And so we will do both of those during spacewalks during that mission.
And just to be clear, I think the 2 channels you said are 3B and 2A, but You'll do 2A first, and then 2A has been prepared, I guess.
2A has already been prepared. We did that on the last ModKit EVA that we did. And so 3B is the last one that we have to get prepped. And so the other 6 channels on ISS have already have their solar arrays on, the IROSAs on them.
And I'm sorry to ask, just to be clear, so will you, I mean, this has gone on for several years, and it's complicated and all, but it's working. And so I'm just wondering if you have kind of a estimate of when you think the final one will be rolled out and you'll be finished with this.
Oh, yeah. So When they get delivered this fall, I'll tell you, it's on space. I mean, you guys can do the math. It's SpaceX 35. We will conduct the EVA. Our plan is to conduct the EVAs during that mission to install those 2 solar arrays, and then we will be complete, and we'll get them rolled out during that. There are opportunities if we run into any sort of issues or things that could be delayed to after the SpaceX 35 mission if we had to, but our plan today is to do it during that mission. So we'll do the EVAs there to install those solar arrays, and then they roll out at the end of each EVA.
That would be kind of during the fall, before
Yeah,
winter.
correct, during the fall.
I'm sorry.
Thank you very much for your question. We'll now transition over to our phone bridge. And again, for media that wish to participate and that are in the queue, you can use *1 to submit your question and *2 if it has already been answered. And we'll kick things off with Bill Harwood of CBS News.
For Chloe, I just want to verify that Sophie and Jessica are EVA 98 since I hadn't seen that announced anywhere. Just want to make sure that's true. And for Bill Spatch, Kelly Ortberg said recently the Starliner is doing very well. He's working with you guys about scheduling. Is it going to be possible in your mind to get a cargo flight off before the end of the year? Or do you think it's more likely to slip into 2027? Thanks.
Well, let me take that. So, we'll announce the crew members for the EVA closer to the EVA. I know it was in the video there that we just talked about, but we'll actually make the formal announcement coming up on who will do those EVAs. We like to keep an eye on what happens over the course of the EVA, so we don't have to jostle things back and forth. As far as Starliner goes, we continue to work very closely with Boeing on the Starliner upgrades. I would say the teams are working really well together to make good progress, and that we will fly it when it's ready to go, and where we have a spot for it on ISS.
Thank you very much for your question, Bill. We'll go back to the phone bridge with Charlotte Cossett of AFP.
Hi. Thanks a lot for taking my question. I actually wanted to ask the same question about EVA Astronaut with Gagnon. So my understanding is that you cannot confirm yet that she would take part in the Spacewalk 98, but is there a plan to make her participate in either this one or Spacewalk 97?
I think the question is whether or not they could be participating in either of those next 2 spacewalks. We'll evaluate after we get done with this next spacewalk here, and see where we go with the crew members for the follow-on.
Thank you very much for that question. And again, that was our last question that we had on the phone bridge. And again, for these upcoming EVAs throughout the month of August, you can find out more information, including the participants for those EVAs at nasa.gov as they are announced, with the first one coming up on Thursday, August 6th. A very special thank you to Bill, Chris, Chloe for joining us on the briefing here today. And we look forward to seeing you on NASA Plus for the upcoming spacewalks outside of the International Space Station. Have a great day.
Remember, we didn't invite Davis to our high school reunion? Now he doesn't even like it when we hang out without him.
Cal, I have to believe in a world where people can change and mature.
It's Friday!
What are you guys talking about?
It's just like a very cool way to prototype extremely quickly. If I go here in Figma, I just have this design here that I pulled together. I can just take the link, I can copy a link to selection, and then I can go into Codex and I can just paste the link. Use the Figma skill to implement the automations page in my app. It was like 90